The Fitnah of the Dajjal. The Fitnah of the Dajjal. Something that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam constantly warned his Ummah about, the Sahaba about, and something that in modern times has been very much misunderstood by the misguided sects and the people who want to explain away the ahadith which are mutawatira, and they want to explain them away to say that it means something other than the description of what the Prophet ﷺ gave us. Just a few points before we start talking about the Dajjal. This particular topic or subtopic within the signs of inshaa, the signs before the day, has become a fitna for many people. We have the description of the Prophet ﷺ and the various ahadith, dozens and dozens of ahadith which are authentic ahadith narrated concerning the Dajjal. Then we have the Dajjals of this ummah who say that these ahadith are not to be taken upon their face value, but they are to be taken upon a metaphorical meaning. So really, these are the people who are doing the handiwork of Dajjal himself, who are taking the ummah away from the pristine understanding of the ahadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the understanding of the blessed Sahaba of this ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Tabi'in, Atba Tabi'in, the four Imams and the other illustrious Imams alongside them, the Muhaddithin, the Mufassirin, the consensus of the ummah in fact, concerning Dajjal. And what you'll find concerning these people is, as has been mentioned by the Salaf and the Ulama, is these people go behind two or three things. They either go behind verses or a hadith which are not clear in meaning, and this is because they have a sickness in their hearts. They leave that which is muhkam, they leave that which is clear-cut, and they go behind that which has maybe an ambiguity concerning it, or a variety of meanings. Or they hide behind the Arabic language, as has been done by the various misguided sects throughout the last 1,000+ years. Or they give these things a meaning which the Rasul and the Sahaba did not give. These are the three main excuses that the people of deviation, the people of misguidance, hide behind when they want to explain away narrations that don't fit into their agenda. And of course, if you don't accept that there will be the coming of Dajjal, then were we to be around when he does arrive, we'll reject the entire thing, because if we reject that, we're also going to reject, as some people have, the return of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. They say that's also metaphorical. Because if the return of the Dajjal is metaphorical, then the return of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, the Messiah, the Masih, is also metaphorical for those upon deviation, for those whose hearts have a crookedness within them. And you'll find much of this narrative on the internet, in certain books, and this is not to be given any consideration whatsoever. It's not to be given any consideration whatsoever. Not from an academic discourse point of view, because there's no academia behind their allegation and their accusation and the point that they make and the submissions that they try to fool the people with. There's nothing behind it. Ma anzalallahu biha min sultan. The reality is Allah Azza wa Jal has not revealed an evidence for these individuals. And secondly, they are actually doing the handiwork of Dajjal himself, who is an outright liar, and they lie in their claims that they make. And the credibility of one's claim, from the usul of the Salaf, the credibility of a claimant is upon the truthfulness of evidence and the credibility of evidence that he produces. Hatu burhanakum in kuntum sadiqin. Produce the evidence if you are upon the truth. So there is no burhan, there has been no evidence revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran or given by way of revelation to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam concerning the accusations and the claims that these deviant people make. Dajjal exists. Dajjal is a reality, just like Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is a reality. Dajjal will do all the things that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has informed us concerning. He is of the description that the Rasul informed us of. He isn't to be given an explanation which the Rasul did not give. Imran ibn Nazar Hussain on the internet, very famous scholar of eschatology and so on and so forth, and the scholar who looks at the signs of the Day of Judgment, he's not a scholar, he's doing the handiwork of Dajjal, because he's saying to people, well, there won't be a person with curly hair, with one protruding eye, with so-and-so written on his forehead. He says this is nonsense, a'udhu billah. So the words of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam have become a nonsense for the agents of Dajjal. Only an agent of Dajjal would say that, or the one who wants to carry out the handiwork of Dajjal himself. So these are things that we have to stay away from, and people that we have to stay away from, and no attention is to be paid, because no scholar has said this from the Ummah. And Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, and he wasn't the first to just make this principle out of thin air, that the people of innovation, the people of desires, the people of misguidance, they always rely upon the rare or odd opinion of a scholar in the Ummah, for which that particular scholar may have one reward if he's incorrect and two rewards if he strives to be or strive to reach the correct conclusion. That's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for this individual who hides behind the rarity and the scarcity and the rareness of that particular scholar's fatwa or verdict, and the entire Ummah is on one side and Ibn Hazm is on the other, for example, and the entire Ummah is on one side and Ibn Taymiyyah could be on the other, it doesn't matter. This individual who has a sickness, he will use the exception of that one scholar, or two or three, in the face of hundreds and thousands of the other scholars of the Ummah, as an evidence. And by consensus, brothers and sisters, understand this principle before we continue, that the ikhtilaf, the difference of opinion between the scholars in the Ummah is not a hujjah, it's not an evidence. So when they are asked to produce evidence, they say, Imam so-and-so said, and he held this opinion concerning music and this and that and the coming of the Dajjal, the return of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. This is not an hujjah, this is not an evidence. Ibn al-Qayyim talks about this and expresses this far more eloquently in his book I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, Khatib al-Baghdadi also, for those who want to know. So the point is what? Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, those who proclaim or at least claim to be upon the way of the Salaf of this Ummah, we don't hide behind the rarity of an opinion of a scholar or the shadh, the odd opinion of a scholar or two. And you'll find this with people of innovation. This is their hallmark in modern times and in the past also. Even down to following basics of the Sunnah. Why do you not raise your trousers above your ankles? There's a difference of opinion. But that's not evidence. The evidence is what Allah said, what the Rasul said, how what the Sahaba explained. So this is a principle, put into your hearts and teach it to your children. And this is a principle just like that person who learns an art or learns wrestling or whatever it is, he drills his moves again and again and again. This is a principle that we should be drilling in ourselves and in our children continuously, because this is something which will save and avoid much fitna for that individual and trial and tribulation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be upon the way of the Salaf. As for Dajjal, Dajjala yarjulu, it means the one who mixes, the one who confuses, the one who changes, the one who alters. Ibn Asir, Imam Ibn Asir, the Imam of language, of the Arabic language, Ibn Manzur also. Ay kadhabun mumawwihun. Meaning, he says that the one who presents a lie or who presents something which is against the reality. وَأَصْلُ الدَّجْلِ الْخَلَطُ. The actual root understanding of the word Dajjal is the one who mixes. Meaning what? Mixes the truth and he presents it as falsehood, or he glorifies falsehood and presents it to the people. وَالدَّجَّالُ وَالْمَسِيحُ الْكَذَّابُ وَإِنَّمَا دَجْلُهُ سِحْرُهُ وَكِذْبُهُ. Dajjal means the outright liar. And no doubt, he is the one who will be presenting magic and lies and fabrications and falsifications to the people. This is what the scholars have said concerning language. No scholar has given the word Dajjal a meaning of someone who's not going to be in a reality or something which is metaphorical. It can be used in a metaphorical sense, but the hadith indicate something which is entirely in opposition to that. So we're not going to get into how hadith and the sayak and the sabak and the understanding of text is to be taken looking at the background of what the Prophet is saying and what it was said concerning and what the backdrop was. But it's just something that we should pay attention to. And some of the scholars have commented that the fitna of Dajjal will be severe, and the one who will confuse the people, his confusion will be so severe that it's something that will be colossal in its effect. It will be far-reaching, the trickery and the magic and the falsification that he has with him. Number two, the return or the advent or the coming of Dajjal rather is something which is yaqini. And for this word, a reality, you could look at the books of the Salaf and they've actually mentioned these wordings. تلي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم علينا ونحن نتذاكر فقال ما تذاكرون قالوا نذكر الساعة قال إنها لن تقوم حتى ترون قبلها 10 آيات فذكر الدخان والدجال إلى آخر الحديث. حذيفة بن أسيد al-Ghafari, not Hudayfa bin Yaman. This hadith is by bin Usayd al-Ghafari. He says that we were chatting amongst ourselves, we meaning the companions, and the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam entered upon us and he said, what is it that you speak about? We said, O Messenger of Allah, we speak about the last day, about Qiyamah, the last day. He said, the day will not be established until 10 signs are made evident, 10 signs. And then he started to mention them, and he mentioned the dukhan, the smoke, and then he mentioned the Dajjal to the end of the hadith. Because this is a fundamental hadith for this particular topic, I'll give the reference for it. Sahih Muslim Hadith 2901. Kitab al-Fitan, the chapter of tribulations. Bab fil ayat allati takuna qabla as-sa'a. The book of tribulations, the chapter of the signs which will occur before the day is established. And Sunan Tirmidhi also 2183. And it's important to look that up also, inshallah, so we can understand these ahadith better. Shaykh al-Bani rahmatullah alayhi brings a additional hadith to this in his book Qissat al-Masih al-Dajjal. He says, وَخَارِجٌ فِيكُمْ لَا مَحَالَةَ إِنَّهُ لَحَقٌ وَأَمَّا إِنَّهُ قَرِيبٌ فَكُلُّ مَا هُوَ آتٍ قَرِيبٌ. That no doubt that Dajjal, the Rasul said, no doubt that Dajjal is going to come amongst you. And innahu lahaqqun. The coming of Dajjal amongst you is something which is a reality. These are the whose words? Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's words. Wa amma innahu qareebun. And his coming is that which is near. And the one who is to come upon someone is someone who's always near. Meaning the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying that don't become relaxed when it comes to the fitna of Dajjal. Always seek the refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concerning the fitna of Dajjal and the coming of Dajjal. وَوَخَالِكُمْ فِيكُمْ لَا مَحَالَةَ, that Dajjal will come amongst you for sure. These are all the ahadith, for sure. يا أيها الناس إنها لم تكن فتنة في الأرض أعظم من فتنة الدجال. The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gathered the people and he informed them, O mankind, O people, no doubt that the fitna of Dajjal, the trials and tribulations of Dajjal, and that which he will bring with him, are severe and great, and no trial or tribulation will be greater than the trials and tribulations that he presents. ما بين خلق آدم إلى قيام الساعة حلق أكبر من الدجال. From the coming of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam up until the last day, there is no fitna greater that has been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except for that of the Dajjal. من نجا من ثلاث فقد نجا ثلاث مرات موتي ودجالي وقتل خليفة مصابر بالحق معطية. The Rasul said that the one who preserves himself and saves himself from three events, or three things that will occur, and he remains firm in these things, then this is a person that will be saved. This is a person that will see salvation. Number one, Mawti, the one who remains firm after my death. Whose death? Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's death. وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ أَفَإِن مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انقلبتم عَلَى أَعْقَابِكُمْ. After the death of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, will you now turn away and run away and turn on your heels and go? So the death of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a tremendous test and calamity and musibah that had fallen this ummah. And the Sahaba would say that there's no musibah which is greater than the death of the beloved Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We don't have the Rasul amongst us today, but we have his teachings. And this is something that we forget. If you take a moment to think what the Sahaba must have gone through at the death of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and how their world around them must have come crumbling down. And the narrations are many. Pick up Muslim Ahmad and you'll see many narrations. In Riyadh al-Salihin, Imam Nawawi, he includes some narrations from Fatima radiallahu ta'ala concerning the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Laysa ala abika karbin ba'da al-yawm. Fatima, what are you worried for? After today, Rasul said, after today your father will suffer no more. Your father, the Rasul suffered for this ummah. And he passed away. And this was a trial and tribulation for many. And the doors of fitna opened up after this. And the doors of fitna opened up after the death of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and more so after the death of Umar radiallahu ta'ala, greatly. And then it continued after the death of Uthman, meaning we say again what we have been saying constantly in all of these durus, the death of the ulama. And the best of the ulama after the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the one who taught the knowledge, is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, then Umar Farooq, Uthman Ghani, and Ali Haydar al-Qarar, al-Murtada radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. So the death of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And secondly, the appearance of Dajjal. He will shake people to the very core, the Rasul said. And thirdly, when that Khalifa is killed who is upon the truth at that time. Which Khalifa, whatever, we will inshallah explain this as we go through the science. So you get a flavor of some of the ahadith concerning the fitna of Dajjal. What's the greatest fitna, by the way? A question to our beloved audience. What's the greatest fitna, by the way? We're talking about the fitna of Dajjal. What is his greatest fitna? What is it that the greatest thing that he will want to lead the people to know? What's your name? Idris, may Allah reward you. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. Fitna is even more severe than killing. And this fitna, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبَسُوا إِيمَانَهُم بِظُلْمٍ, this oppression, this fitna, its root purpose is what? To take the people away from Islam and to throw them into shirk and kufr. May Allah save us from that. Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياءهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات. People are of two types. Scholars are of two types. The callers to the deen are of two types. One, he is upon the tariqah, the way of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will take you away from the depths of darkness, kufr, shirk, innovation, and pull you toward the light of al-Islam, the light of the teaching of al-Mustafa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then at the same time there's the agent of Dajjal, who will take the people who are upon the correct way, upon the light of Islam, and constantly trying to pull them towards the depths of the darkness of kufr and shirk and innovation. So the believer is always aware, as we've said in almost every single circle that we've had concerning this topic. Who is it that he takes his knowledge of, and what is it that that person is explaining to him, and also who is it that he befriends. He is aware of these issues, and these are issues not of manhaj, by the way, only. These are actually issues of aqidah. People think that it's just something that I have a choice in. No, actually you don't. This is something that we must refrain from and stay away from. So likewise, the Dajjal, the aim is to take people away from Islam, from the firmness of being upon the deen, and to take them towards the depths of kufr. And this is why every single prophet and Rasul that came, they warned against the Dajjal, as has been established in an authentic hadith. They warned against the one who had one eye. إِنِّي أُنذِرُكُمُوهُ وَمَا مِن نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا وَقَدْ أَنذَرَهُ قَوْمَهُ وَلَكِنَّ سَأَقُولُ لَكُمْ فِيهِ قَوْلًا لَمْ يقوله النبي لقومه إنه أعور وإن الله ليس بأعوره. Ibn narrates the Rasul said that I make you afraid of and I warn you of the one that no prophet stayed behind from warning from, meaning every single Nabi that came. I'm doing what every single prophet before me done, and I warn you from the one that they warned their people from. Although I am going to tell you new information concerning the one that they warned against, meaning the Dajjal. And what's that new information that the Prophet ﷺ gave our ummah? Pay attention, brothers and sisters. So he said, ﷺ, I'm going to tell you something which no prophet before me told any of their nations concerning Dajjal. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And this is the mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us through Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A mercy for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That I so much desire for you to be away from this fitna, that I'm going to give you something new. فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِئُ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ إِن لَّمْ يُؤْمِنْ بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. And this is how the way of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. He would lament at those around him that would not accept the truth, or that were falling into trials and tribulations, remaining upon disbelief. He would lament at this, and he would become depressed at this. فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِئُ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, it seems as if, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you're going to harm yourself. You're going to make yourself severely ill by be concerned about those around you that are not coming to the truth. Look, this is a way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rahmatul lil alamin. So it's out of that mercy that he gave us information which no Prophet gave any ummah before. What's that information now concerning the Dajjal? What's the new thing? Who knows what's the new thing that the Prophet ﷺ gave us which no Prophet? Yes, ya Shaykh.
The one eye.
One eye. Explain it properly.
He'll be blind in his.
Okay, so he ﷺ said, "Innahu a'ur wa inna Allah laysa bi'a'wara," that he will have one protruding eye like a grape, and we'll go through that inshallah. And your Lord is not like this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like this. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. So, point of Aqidah benefit. Has the Prophet informed us of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has two eyes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Who's confused on this? We shouldn't have no confusion on this. This is a point of Tawheed and Aqidah and belief. Our Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as has been explained in other ahadith, even more expressly than this in the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, in Abu Dawud I believe, and other than that our Lord has not just got one eye, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah believe in the names and attributes, the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once again, we take them upon their apparent and real meaning. They are a reality. But we don't go into saying that it might mean this or it might not mean this, or this is the metaphorical meaning, or this is the majazi meaning, or in my opinion Allah's eyes are like this, or they're comparable to this. This is all incorrect and misguided. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah say whether it's the hands of Allah, whether it's the eyes of Allah, whether it's the foot of Allah, whether it's the blessed face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it's the shin of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah accept all of these things and they give it its true meaning. They exist in reality, but they don't compare, they don't explain them away, they don't give them a meaning which the Rasul and the Sahaba did not give. That's all I want to say as a footnote concerning this. So this is from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He revealed this upon the Prophet, and the Prophet informed us sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Where is Dajjal? Well, the reality is that Dajjal is present in this dunya. Imran ibn Nazr Hussain says, Dajjal is in Britain. You might have seen him or spoken to him. But, you know, it reminds me of these fortune tellers. What's his Nostradamus, is it? Or what? The world will end next Friday. Or the world will end on a Friday. Or the world will end in 1,000 years, 500 years, 600 years. Meaning, even if I get it wrong, who's going to come and ask me? I'm going to be dead anyway. Yeah, so it's as if who's going to take Imran ibn Nazr Hussain and his followers to task with this? Imran, you got it wrong. Imran, you said it wrong. And of course, people upon innovation, they always give this caveat, don't they? In my opinion. Well, what's your opinion worth? What's your opinion worth? Are you a Sahabi or something? You're giving us your opinions. So this is just trickery. And it's a name and a claim to fame. And it's ujub. It's self-amazement. I know something which nobody in the Ummah knew. Allahu Akbar. You know something which nobody in the Ummah knew before you. How strange is that? He says, I'm a Hanafi, I'm a Shafi'i, I'm a Hanbali, I'm a Maliki. And he says, anybody who's not a Hanafi is upon misguidance. Anybody who's not a Shafi'i is upon misguidance. These Wahhabis, these Salafis are misguided, he says. And they all say this. But when it comes to these things, show us from your Imam that you Imam. Did your Imam not know about the hadith of Dajjal? But the Imam doesn't matter there. Leave the Imam to the side there. Did Imam Abu Hanifa say this? Did Imam Malik say this? That Dajjal is not a reality, it's metaphorical? No, they didn't. Or Dajjal is here, or Dajjal is there. So this is all hocus pocus. Someone who wants name and fame for themselves. And this self-amazement is something which is very, very dangerous, brothers and sisters. And it takes a person far away from the truth. It takes a person far away from the truth, that I know something which nobody before me has said or concluded or knew. This is surely the handiwork of Shaitan and his agent. So the Salaf say that, and the Hadith indicates and clearly shows that Dajjal is present. So no satellite in the sky is there to say, well, we've just seen this creature or this. It's all, these claims, it's all nonsense. As for the Hadith, then it's clear. Who knows the Hadith about Dajjal being present? I was thinking of another Hadith actually, not the Hadith of Tamim al-Dari. Okay, anything else? So, who said Iraq? Oh yeah, about Iraq, yeah, for that brother. That's a reminder for that brother. You know, last week actually, I'll say it now. Iraq is the east of Medina, as I said. And the hadith is expressed in Bukhari. And the chapter heading is expressed. And also, there are about 5-6 other hadiths which actually expressly mention that the Prophet ﷺ was in Medina and he pointed towards the east. And the hadith actually says he pointed towards Iraq. So we take the hadith as it's come. And of course, there's a tafsir to that. Ibn Hajar explained in detail in his Fath al-Bari. So it's not north of Medina, it's, as was said, it's east of Medina, and Allah knows best. So the hadith is the hadith of Fatima bint Qais رضي الله تعالى عنها قال سمعت منادي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ينادي الصلاة جامعة فخرجت إلى المسجد فصليت مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فكنت في الصف النساء التي تلي ظهور القوم فلما قضى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صلاته جلس على منبري وهو يضحك فقال ليلزم كل إنسان مصلاه ثم قال أتدرون لما جمعتكم وحدثني حديثا وافق الذي كنت أحدثكم عن مسيح الدجال. Fatima bint Qais radiallahu ta'ala anha narrates that the Rasul sallallahu made an announce that gather for the salah. So I went towards the masjid and I prayed salah with the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, behind the Rasul sallallahu. And I was with the women at the back, behind where the men ended. I was at the back with the women. And when the Rasul sallallahu finished his salah, he sat up on his minbar and he was smiling, and hadith actually says he was laughing. That's probably a better explanation. And he said, all of you stay where you are, stay seated. And he said, do you know why I've gathered you here in this way? They said, Allah and His Rasul sallallahu know best. He said, I swear by Allah, I have not gathered you to make you afraid of something or to tell you about something except that. And then the hadith of Tamim al-Dari continues. So the hadith of Tamim al-Dari is, but this is the first part which many people neglect. And I'll tell you why this part is actually important. For those who want to quickly take a note, there's many points of benefit of fiqh in this hadith also. When we look at narrations at a hadith, sometimes we just want to find the portion that interests us, and we sometimes ignore or look over the hadith. But really, if you really truly look at hadith, then the Rasul is Jawami ul Kalim. He would say that which was little in amount, but it would have a profound meaning. So if we just look at this hadith, Fatima bint Qais, she hears the announcement and she goes to the masjid. So is it permissible for women to go to the masjid? Yes. So if a madhab today says that the women can't go to the masjid, the Hanafi madhab says, is it okay, Shaykh here? Can't go to the masjid. This is not allowed. We take this hadith. Or is it disliked for the women to go to the masjid? This hadith is clearly warning against that. Then another mother, this one and another one, they say you can't take narrations from a woman unless there's other narrations that back her up. Lie. Fatima bin Qais is narrating this by herself. There are many narrations from Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha by herself. In fact, Imam Bukhari in his Kitab Akhbar al-Ahad, without making it technical, he brings a whole hadith concerning that some meat was given, or some food was given to some of the companions, and they took whether they should eat that meat or not just from the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one woman. And Imam Bukhari brought that as evidence to say that even if it's one woman, all of the Sahaba are reliable, man or woman. They would take it. So the point is, these are all points of hadith and fiqh, and also linked to Aqidah, and it's a little illustration of how if you study hadith, or how if you teach your children to truly understand hadith, how Allah Azza wa Jal, I believe, and I have yaqeen, will open up their minds, and their minds will become very strong, alhamdulillah. And it's no coincidence that narrators of hadith and scholars of hadith memorize thousands of names of people of hadith and narrators of hadith, and the names of their fathers and the names of their teachers. They memorize them. This is not some coincidence. This is the training that they had through the barakah of the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As for the hadith itself, the hadith of Tamim al-Dari, the Rasul explained that, how Tamim was on a journey, and does everybody here know the hadith of Tamim? Do I need to go through that? Does anybody here not know the hadith of Tamim al-Dari?
Go for it.
Yeah, we'll go through it, inshallah. Yeah. So I'm just conscious of. So he sallallahu said, I've gathered you here because Tamim al-Dari was a Christian, and he accepted Islam upon my hands. And he's just said something to me which is in accordance to what I know. And I want to today warn you and explain to you about the Dajjal. And Tamim al-Dari then says that he was on a journey with about 30 people, a journey of a month, and the waves were taking the ship here and there, meaning there was a lot of turbulence on the sea, up until the boat or the vehicle of the sea ended up towards some place towards the west, an island. This is where Britain comes into that man's mind, as if Britain is the only island in the west. Yeah, so he ended up towards an island in the west, and then we embarked on a smaller boat, and we came off that ship and we went towards the island. And there, when we went to the island, we met a creature. We saw a creature whose hair was very thick, and it was difficult to establish where was the front of that creature and where was its back, meaning he was just a hairy creature, something which was abnormal. So Tamim says that they asked the creature, who are you? So actually, some of the scholars and certain students of knowledge have made a comment here concerning those that say that this journey of a month was in a non-Arab country. They say either creature, Jassasa. Did he know English? Did Tamim al-Dari know the language that was other than Arabic? What is it that they conversed in? So they say that the hadith actually explains to us and gives us indications that this journey of a month, it's not as people say today, that it was like literally 4,000, 5,000 miles away. It's not like that. But that's a side point. So they said, who are you? And the animal or the creature said that I am a spy. I'm someone who keeps an eye on things. Who do you keep an eye on things for? He said, let me take you to the one that I serve. So then the creature took Tamim Dari and his people, and he hurried them along, and there they saw a very tall man, human, and they'd not seen such a large human like that before. But he was shackled, and both of his hands were tied behind his neck, and both of his feet were tied firmly together with metal iron chains. Meaning this human, this person, he couldn't move. He was firmly secure. Tamim said that we said to that creature with the hair, Jasasa, who is this wretched individual? Is Tamim ad-Dari talking about a fictional character here, a metaphorical character, or a real person? So Dajjal's a real person, right? And this is our Aqidah, by the way. This is not fiqh, this is our Aqidah. Who is this wretched individual? So Dajjal, that person, replied in the hadith, that soon you will come to know. Inform me first, who are you? So Tamim and his people said that we have come from the Arab lands and we went upon the journey, as we know happened. And the turbulence in the sea led us to this island. And so they asked him again, who are you? So he said, I am the one who is a spy. I keep an eye on things. So the Sahaba say that we began to feel as if this individual was the shaitan himself. Then the Dajjal said, tell me about the occurrences in Sham. And Sham, some say means Syria, but some say it means some of the area that's around modern day Syria. So the companions asked, what is it that you'd like to know about that particular area? So the Dajjal asked, is that area bearing fruit? So we replied, yes. He said, soon a time will come when it won't bear fruit any longer. Then he asked, tell me about the Tiberias sea or river. Is there still water within it? We said, yes, it's flowing with water. He said, soon it will become dry. Tell me about the springs of Zagar, meaning place in Sham also. Is there water within there? He said, the companion said, yes, there is water there, and that water people irrigate the lands with that water. Then he said, tell me about the prophet of the Arabs. So then Tamim said that he has made hijrah from Makkah to Medina. The Dajjal said, has he fought the other Arabs yet? The companions replied, yes. The Dajjal said, what was the result of that fighting? So the companions replied that the Prophet meaning Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has overcome them people. He said, has this truly happened? He said, yes. The companion said, yes. So then the Dajjal said that it is better for the people that they accept this man, meaning Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Be careful of me. Be aware of me. Be warned concerning me. I am the Masih al-Dajjal, and soon I will be released. Or the authority to release me will be here soon. And in 40 days, I will overcome all the lands, but except for Mecca and Medina. And when I do intend to go towards Mecca and Medina, there will be angels stood there with unsheathed swords waiting for me and standing guard, meaning Mecca and Medina. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whilst he's narrating this, remember he gathered the people. He had his blessed stick in his hand, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he hit his mimbar with it 3 times. And he said that this is Tayyibah, meaning this is that Medina that he spoke about. ألا هل كنت حدثتكم ذلك فقال الناس نعم فإنه أعجبني حديث تميم أنه وافق الذي كنت أحدثكم عنه عن المدينة ومكة على إنه في بحر الشام أو بحر اليمن لا بل من قبل المشرق. ما هو من قبل المشرق؟ ما هو أو ما بيده إلى المشرق. Did I not tell you, the Prophet said, about this Dajjal? So this is from the signs of prophethood. Bayhaqi, Imam Bayhaqi and others have included this in the Dalal Nubuwah as a sign of the prophethood of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That did I not tell you about this Dajjal? Now look, before your very eyes, it is as I said. The companion said, yes, O Messenger of Allah. Why not? You did. Do you not should I tell you why I am happy with what Tamim has informed me of? And by the way, the wording in the hadith is, should I not tell you about the hadith that Tamim has just told me? For those who reject hadith, or for those who say, where does he say that the word of the Prophet are hadith? And where does he say that you should be Ahlul Hadith? And all these silly arguments. So here the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself is calling the words of the Sahaba and his own words hadith. Should I not tell you why the hadith of Tamim has made me happy? Because it's in accordance with the hadith that I used to inform you of. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I used to tell you that Dajjal will not be able to enter Makkah and Medina. Be aware Dajjal is in the vicinity of, or the place of Sham or Yemen. No, rather he's in the east. No, towards the east. Yes, he is towards the east. And he raised his hands and he pointed towards the east. Now, much can be said concerning this hadith. And for a better translation, because I've just translated it from the Arabic hadith in Sahih Muslim, 2946. A tremendous narrative and a detailed narrative about the Dajjal and his agent. So he establishes that Dajjal is in the dunya and was present at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some of the signs of the release of Dajjal, or once the Dajjal has been openly released, what are the occurrences or the events that will take place? Now there's 2 types of signs. Those which are the minor signs which lead up to the major ones just before the last day is established. So you have the smaller signs, then you have the greater signs. So we've talked about some of the smaller signs up to the lead up of the Dajjal in any event already. And of course, we know through authentic hadith that once the Dajjal is here, then the tawbah of no one will be accepted. The doors of tawbah will be closed. Once the Dajjal is here, the door of tawbah is closed. As for the signs, then some of them include the following. Amr bin As narrates, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تقوم الساعة والروم أكثر الناس. That before the day is established, meaning at the coming of the Dajjal, the Romans will be many in number. What do we mean by Romans here? Yeah, the Christians, people of the book, yeah, upon that faith. And 4 reasons were given as to why they will be so great in number. For those who want to look up them reasons, Sahih Muslim 2898. Actually, they're fascinating to look up. And one of them, that they help the poor and the needy and the orphans. And this is a stark reality. When our own people, we turn away from helping others, and it's just nafsi, we think about ourselves, that other people take that initiative. And through that, people leave the deen and they go towards the deen of those that are helping them. May Allah guide us and give us the ability to reach out to people. You know, we have these questions sometimes people ask, ajib, strange questions. And when you look at these kind of narrations, the answer is actually in there. You know, if I go to an earthquake zone, can I help a non-believer? Ya akhi, what kind of ajib question is this? Did the Rasul ﷺ differentiate? Did he discriminate between helping the one in need, whether he's a believer or not? Yani, this is how some of us have become programmed through the narrative which is being shown on the TV and in the books and on YouTube of the extremists actually. And it's a very worrying narrative. The Rasul ﷺ wouldn't discriminate like this. In fact, he ﷺ encouraged the giving of zakah also. So those who are not upon Islam, he encouraged this so that you can show them the beauty of Islam. But what some of the people of fitna promote is, you should only help the Muslim. This is incorrect here. And there's no evidence for this. In fact, this hadith indicates otherwise, that the people will actually leave the deen because of the kindness of the faith of other people. Because the Muslim Ummah will stop caring and maybe will just fall into this broad discrimination of people. So look up these reasons for those who have an interest in that, and it's quite fascinating. Jubair Radiallahu Ta'ala who narrates concerning the war that will take place. سَتُسَالِهُونَ الرُّومَ صُلْحًا آمِنًا فَتَغْزُونَ أَنْتُمْ وَهُمْ عَدُوًّا مِّنْ وَرَائِكُمْ فَتُنْصَرُونَ وَتَغْنِمُونَ وَتَسْلَمُونَ up until وَتَجْمَعُوا لِلْمَلْحَمَةِ. That you people, the Rasul said, will soon enter into a peace treaty with the Romans, the Europeans, European Christians to be precise. Then once you've entered into that peace treaty, you will fight a common enemy. And you will be helped, the Muslims will be helped. And much wealth and benefits will be received through that war. This is towards the end of times. We're talking about the times of Dajjal here. Just before the coming of Dajjal. When you Muslims go back to your land, then you will see that from amongst the people of the Europeans, there'll be a person who will say that the people overcame, meaning that common enemy, because of my faith, meaning my belief in Christianity. And when some of the Muslims will say this, they will become angry, and a fight will ensue between them. And then each one will call out, even though there'll be a treaty, each one will call out to its party, and a fight or a war will begin. So just look at the precise detail that the Prophet ﷺ is going through before the coming of Dajjal. Very precise, very exact. Likewise, there will be, as per the narration of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يحسر الفرات عن جبل من ذهب يقتل الناس عليه فيقتل من كل 199 ويقول كل رجل منهم لعل أكون أنا الذي أنجو. That the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed us that the last day will not be established up until from the river of Furat, a mountain of gold will be discovered, upon which people will enter into a war. They will fight each other, and from a portion of every 100 people, 99 will be killed for wanting that gold or fighting for that gold. And everyone that's fighting, everyone that will want a portion of that gold will be thinking that I am the one that will succeed in getting that or attaining that gold. Now, so there's a few narrations concerning this. I just want to mention them, because one of the brothers specifically asked this at the start of the circle concerning the mountain of gold. Ubay bin Ka'b radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrated the Rasul sallallahu said, يُوشِكُ الْفُرَاتُ أَنْ يَحْسِرَ عَنْ جَبَلٍ مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. That soon in the river of Furat there will be a mountain of gold that will appear, or that will be there, that will be discovered. And when the people hear about this, there'll be the gold rush. People will go towards it. But those that will be near that mountain of gold, they will say that if we were to leave this, then the other people will come and take this mountain of gold. Meaning, it's all about the dunya here. And how will they just take a mountain of gold? But this is what the mindset will be. So it's that greed. So the people will come from far and wide, and they will fight each other concerning this, and from every 199 will die. Just that gold. So where's this river, or this place, or this river of Furat? Now, where is it? Iraq. Now, Euphrates. Has this sign appeared yet? No. Some of the people have said, as a side point, I read in one or two books whilst researching this topic, that it means petrol from the ground. This is incorrect. This is against this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But a mountain of gold means a real mountain of gold. And gold comes from the earth anyway. So it's not as if it's something which is not believable. And this is the mountain of gold that will be discovered just before the release of, or the coming of Dajjal. And the reason that the great war will take place is because of this mountain. And Allah knows best. So this explanation of the mountain being petrol or so on and so forth, it's incorrect, and it's not in accordance with the Sunnah of Rasulullah and the Hadith of Rasulullah. Likewise, and we'll quickly mention this, I wanted to whiz through this last point. Constantinople will be conquered. لا تقوم الساعة حتى تنزل الروم بالإعماق أو بدابك فيخرج إليهم جيش من المدينة من خيار أهل الأرض يومئذ فإذا تصاف قالت الروم خلوا بيننا وبين الذين صبوا منا نقاتلهم فيقول المسلمون لا والله لا نخلي بينكم ولكن يقتله الله بيده فيريهم دمه في حربته. That the day or the hour will not be established up until the Romans arrive at A'maq or Dabik, two places in Sham. And a army from the people of, or from the side, or from the direction of Medina will go to oppose them, will go to fight them. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave this for next week because there's some tafsil to this narration that I want to bring some background. Then it will, inshallah, make a better understanding as to why these people will go and why these people will come to A'maq and Dabik, and how them fighters from Medina will be the best of the fighters at that time. And the fact that these are people who would have left other faiths and come to Islam. And they'll be the most best trained warriors of that time. And these people will come and say, give us back our prisoners of war that you've got. And they'll say, no, these are our brothers now, we're not going to give up these people. And then the fight will occur. So there's some tafsil or a background to that. And remember, this is all leading up to the coming of Dajjal. So when we talk about Dajjal, to conclude this particular part of the Dajjal series, it's not just a case of knowing the point that Dajjal will appear and he will be like this and this is his description and this is what he will do. Rather, I think it's very important to look at the events that lead up to the coming of Dajjal, and then what Dajjal does, and then the events that open up after the coming of Dajjal, because then the day is very near. And we go towards the end of our series concerning the signs of the last day towards that. So it's a fascinating narrative that we should all pay attention to and try to take as much benefit as we can. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to speak the truth and then to act upon it. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Any questions, inshallah? No. There's evidence here, but it's rated by Shaf'i.
Yes, these hadith show the reality of Dajjal and we believe in this. But then how do these misguided innovators, when they hear about this hadith, how do they turn this hadith away and say that, oh, he's a metaphor and he's
I'll explain to you the doubts of these people after mic, inshallah. There's no point just introducing the doubt because we'll be here for a very long time, then to explain why what they say is incorrect. Now,
Ustaad, you mentioned during the lecture that Makkah and Medina will be safe
yeah.
from the fitna of the Dajjal. Would you advise
The entrance of Dajjal.
the entrance? Would you advise people, if they've got the ability to move to Makkah and Medina, to be safe from that, to go there and try to live there?
There's no place like Makkah and Medina. There's no place like Makkah and Medina, but Allah says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. To fear Allah, to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a commandment. So fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you're able to. And the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wide and spread, and it's open. So if you're in a place which is a place of trial and tribulation for you, then obviously, naturally, people are going to leave that place. And the best of the places are Makkah, then Medina. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But there's a context to that also. If you're going to go to a place and you're going to think that I'm going to go without being prepared, meaning I've got no job, I've got nothing, I've got no means of sustaining myself, but I'm going to go there, I'm going to start maybe begging or something, then this is something that may be of more harm than of goodness. And the believer is the one who weighs up the mafsada and the maslaha, he weighs up the benefits and the harm. So this is not something, a lot of people take these decisions that they want to go, but they come back very quickly because they haven't thought out why they want to leave their house and go, or their homes, and go to a place which they'll not be able to sustain themselves or maintain themselves in. Any place of residence. But the ideal position is always that you seek to be at the place where Islam started, of course, Makkah and Medina. There's no place like them on earth. On the earth, there's no doubt about that. And the believer, when he goes to Makkah and Medina, his heart, he becomes elevated and cleansed. So this is why the Sahaba and the narration of Umar is quite expressive. This, he used to make dua and cry profusely at the point that, oh Allah, let my death be in Medina. He actually wanted to go and meet his Lord whilst being in Medina. And of course, it was due to the proximity of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the beloved al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where's the iman of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu and the iman of the likes of us? There's no comparison whatsoever. So this is something that one can yearn for, and there's no harm in yearning for being close to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the city of the Prophet, the city of Makkah. But we have to also look at realities. And then breaking the law to get there, this is not permissible. Some people think that these things are permissible. It's not. Breaking the law of the land that you go to and be there as on an illegal status, this is not permissible. So these things we have to weigh up, and the scholars have spoken extensively about that, and Allah knows best. Now,
In that hadith of at the end, the Prophet said that the Dajjal is not, he thinks it's in Sham, no, it's not in Sham, it's in the East. He mentions three places. Why does the Prophet say that he's in this place? No, he's not in this place, rather he's in that place. What?
it means that the Dajjal is moving.
No, I mean, why does the Prophet say this?
It means that don't be comfortable in thinking that the Dajjal is just going to be coming from one place. And if the Dajjal is upon you, and had the Prophet said he's going to come from the east and just left it at that, or he's going to come from the west and left it at that, then this would be against the reality. But the reality is what? The Dajjal moves. So this is why he said this is a reality. And there are other narrations actually that mention Dajjal being in other places also. So Dajjal, he's moving. He's moving, but he hasn't made himself apparent yet. This is why the Rasul mentioned that.
Sorry, when you say he's moving, meaning while he's locked up, he's in different places?
He's in different places now. But some narrations mention that he's not locked up also. So there's some tafsir to that.
Authentic hadith?
Authentic hadith, yeah. Allah knows best now. And this is why Shaykh Fawzan, Hafidahullah, when he's explaining this particular narration, actually in his book, The Sign Before the Last Day, he actually mentions that he believes that the coming of the Dajjal is something which is very near. And of course, there's two ways to look into that. One is to take it in terms of proximity, in terms of the Rasul said that the last day is near, meaning it's something that's going to happen. But the other way of looking at it is that it's like a real stark warning that the release, meaning the coming open of the Dajjal, or the Fitnah of the Dajjal is here. That's different to say whether he's still shackled up or not. Yeah, so this is where the scholars have differed, based on certain ahadith. Allah knows best.
Sorry.
No, sure.
The Dajjal asks you questions like, has the Prophet come, or where is the orchard or the well of Zoo?
Yeah, Dajjal. In Sham, is it? Let's have a look at the hadith again. So you are talking about the well of Zagar, which is in Sham. That does it have water in there? So this was a place frequently visited for which the people would gather
And now,
and they would take Allah.
now it's unknown.
Oh,
I mean,
Allah.
the Lake of Tiberias is very well.
yeah, Allah concerning this, but like I said, when Sheikh Fawzan is going through this particular hadith, he explains that some of these things, I'm not entirely sure if he mentioned that particular well or whether it's known or whatever, but at that time,
Yeah, this was well known.
yeah. So if it's gonna finish and it's gonna stop producing water, it will be known then to the later people also. Otherwise, the hadith wouldn't,
Right?
wouldn't mention it now.
The
Allah,
Lake
Allah.
of Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
I mean, we know from the hadith of even Kogan, that they will drink for it, and the last one will come and say, oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
So in reality, he has even.
So will this be in one particular go, or will this be over time? That this is something which is from the affairs of the unseen. But the hadith indicates that yes, when Gaga released Yajuj and Majuj.
And they'll drink from that water.
Yeah. So
But that's what they will
but
say.
this is it, you see. So the reality is that it's a sign.
So it's a sign.
So the reality is there, the truth is there, and then sometimes to understand the truth we have qara'in.
No,
We have-
answer my question is that it is irrelevant to the judge because the water will exist even after him.
No, but there's no reason why it could finish and then after that return again. And then there's Yajuj and Majuj. The hadith doesn't say that that can't happen or that will not happen. You see, it's like we're looking at the sequence of events. At the point of the release or the opening of the Dajjal, that water will have disappeared. Yeah? Whether that's due to Yajuj Majuj or before that, what have you, yeah? Then you have to look at all the hadith in its context. But the hadith indicates that the Yajuj and Majuj will come and finish off drinking that
Yes.
the whole thing dry.
Yes.
Yeah? So there's no reason why both things can't be reconciled. Allah knows best. And you will find this in many of the signs that sometimes they require a reconciliation. Imam Ibn Qutaybah, rahmatullahi alayhi, he has a book, Ta'wil Mukhtalif al-Ahadith. It's a book which has been dedicated to reconciling hadith, which on the face of it may seem contradictory. Our Sheikh Zubair al-Izzi, rahmatullahi alayhi, he done an open challenge in recent times, 10, 15, 12 years ago, that let anyone produce a single hadith which he claims contradicts another hadith and which can't be reconciled. And he said, bring it and we will reconcile it. And this was an open challenge really for the Quraniyun, those people that reject the hadith. So our iman is that isn't a single part of narration, part of revelation, wahi, which is mukhalif to or in contradiction to another part of wahi. Yeah, absolutely no doubt in this whatsoever. So the ulama, they made jump, they joined the narrations together. I mean, just to give you an example, someone asked me recently. We know the famous hadith. You started the topic, so I have to speak about it for 2 minutes, if you bear with me. Sheikh, 2 minutes? We know the hadith that, because we spoke about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The famous hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has two right hands. He has two hands and both of them are right hands. Yeah, we know this.
This is our belief.
Yeah, this is our belief, this is what we hold. And this is the belief of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. As I said in the Dars today, we don't make an interpretation of them that the Rasul and the Sahaba never gave. We take them upon their literal and apparent meaning. We don't say they're metaphorical. We don't compare them to anything or anyone from creation. These are the 3-4 main principles concerning that. So does Allah have 2 hands? Yes, He does. Are they like anything creation? No, they're not. Laysa kamithlihi shay'un wa huwas sami'ul basir. Does hand means power? No, it doesn't. Why do you say that? Because Allah never said that, His Rasul never said that. Does hand mean hand? Yes, it does. How are the hands? We don't know. Do the hands exist? Yes, they do, because Allah exists. So this is the basic Q&A concerning that topic. Now, why am I mentioning that? Someone said to me, Ustaad, there's a hadith in Sahih Muslim from Umar bin Hamza that Allah has a hand which is a left hand. Allah has a left hand. Does the hadith exist? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It's in Sahih Muslim. So now someone who's not read hadith with a teacher or studied it properly, he'll be confused out of his mind. How is this possible? At one time the Prophet is saying Allah has 2 hands and both of them are right hand. There's a hadith here in Sahih Muslim which says Allah's left hand. So you can't take hadith in isolation, number 1, and number 2, it's the ulama of hadith and the salaf that make jump, that reconcile the hadith. And number 3, sami'na wa ta'ana. We hear and we obey. So what's the tafsir of this, or the tafsir of this? Very quickly, for example, Imam Bayhaqi in his Kitab al-Asma' Sifat, Ibn Khuzaymah in his Kitab al-Tawheed, they mentioned this also. And Shaykh Albani rahmatullahi alayhi spoke about this. And the Salaf spoke about this. What does it mean? This hadith has been narrated also by Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu and other companions, Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. But it doesn't mention the left hand. It says the other hand. It doesn't say the left hand of Allah, it says the other hand. So the ulama say some of them, and Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions this, rahmatullahi alayhi, that the reconciliation is that even if you take it as left hand, it doesn't mean left hand, it means the other hand. It means the other hand. And both of his hands are right hands. So there's the right hand, and the other hand meaning the other right hand. Yeah? And then he explains that the right hand is used because with the right side is associated perfection and quality and greatness and so on and so forth. And then he says that some of the scholars take the position, does he have a left hand? Yes, it is, but it's his right hand. And we stayed quiet concerning that. Then he mentions, and some of the ulama mention, that the hadith which mentions left hand is a hadith which is shadh. It's a hadith which is opposing narrations or narrators which are more reliable and stronger than the one which has been narrated here. Therefore, it's left, and the ones which, yani what I'm trying to explain is, yeah, it's the other hand, and if you take the left hand, it's the right hand. It means 2 right hands. When it comes to these kind of narrations, people, and the signs of the Day of Judgment is a good example for this. People will read something and they'll get confused. How is that possible? They contradict each other. How can the words of the Prophet? And then that opens up confusion. As believers, inshallah, and as Muslims, we say that there is absolutely no contradiction in the words of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam between themselves or between, yes, the wahi from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam upon the Rasul and the Quran. None at all.
Where is the hadith to say Allah has 2 eyes?
Okay, so we're going to open this topic now, yeah? No problem, inshallah. The hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, it mentions that he narrated, or he read the verse, Inna Allaha kana sami'an basira. Inna Allaha sami'an basira. Something like this. Allahu alam. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees and he hears. And when Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu was saying this, he pointed with his thumb and his finger towards his 2 ears and his 2 eyes. He pointed towards his 2 eyes. And he said, I saw our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do this. I saw our Prophet Muhammad.
Understanding we have this. It's not from a direct word of the Prophet.
No, I just said, Abu Hurairah said, I saw our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do this.
He pointed at
2 eyes and 2 ears now.
why you two hands like this. Or is it
Like this and then like this. 2 fingers like this. And he said, I saw the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do this. And the Sahaba took it. And then this hadith of your Lord is not our. By definition and consensus, if someone does not have 1 eye, he must have that which opposes that. It's 2 eyes. And 2 eyes is a sign of perfection. And the wording of the Quran, even from a Arabic language perspective, that your Lord sees the ships when they are moving and so on and so forth, and the ship of Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, bitaji a'yunina, it was under the watching of our 2 eyes. No, a'yunina is 2 eyes.
our eyes?
Our eyes, but in Arabic it means 2. It means 2. So even from a Arabic language perspective,
But where is this true? So we follow.
no, can't be, impossible. Impossible for it to be 3, 4, 5, 6. Impossible.
Has to be true.
Has to be true because the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has the Quran revealed in Arabic. Inna anzalna Qur'anan Arabiyyan. Why? لعلكم تأكل, so you can understand it.
That's how
The Sahaba understood Arabic. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam understood Arabic. The Tabi'in understood Arabic. The Atba Tabi'in understood Arabic. None of them understood by under our watchful eyes to mean 3 eyes or 4 or 5 or 6. It was understood to be 2. And when the Rasul is saying that Allah is one who's Sami and Basiran, sees and hears, and he's pointing towards his 2 eyes.
And you're saying that Sahaba said it, that when that was said, we understood that it meant 2 eyes.
When that was said, they understood that it means 2 eyes. And
That's written down.
وَمَن يُشَاكِكَ, of course in hadith, authentic hadith, وَمَن يُشَاكِكَ الرَّسُولَ مِن بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We can't take Aqidah by ourselves, we have to take it upon the way of the believers, meaning the Sahaba. So, and every prophet that came, and here's the point, isn't it? This is an Aqidah which Allah is Allah He was there and nothing was there. Huwa al-awwal. He's always been with 2 eyes. He's always spoken. This is how we understand Sifat. He is al-awwal, the first. So when every single prophet came and warned the people, this was the case. But our Prophet ﷺ, through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the mercy upon this ummah, he expressly mentioned this new information. That the Dajjal is 1-eyed, meaning he sees from 1 eye, but your Lord is not like that. But how many the eyes does the Dajjal actually have? 2. With 1 he sees and the other one is? Yeah. So when the Rasul is saying that your Lord is not outward, meaning he's not what they say, only seeing from 1 eye, what does it mean? He sees from 2. Khalas. So even the hadith actually expressly mentions that. And for a more detailed explanation, in my view, personal opinion, Al-Aqidah Wasatiyah of Shaykh Sami ibn Taymiyyah with the explanation of Shaykh Uthaymeen is amazing. Al-Aqidah Hamawiyah also with the explanation of Shaykh Uthaymeen and Shaykh Fawzan is amazing with this topic. Allah knows best. Barakallahu feek.
Ustad, sorry, quickly, I know it's gone on. You mentioned 2 of the signs of the soothsayers and the doomsday predictors over the internet. One is that they say, in my personal opinion, and second, they give specific dates. As people, they delve into social media, are there any other standout signs that they look out for, that these are the people that you shouldn't take from, based on similar signs of what you mentioned?
Well, Imran ibn Nazir Hussain is not alone in this predicting prophecies, by the way. Dr. Tarul Qadri has done the same. If you look on YouTube, he actually gives a date for when the day will be established, using hadith. This hadith in Ibn Majah, this hadith in Tirmidhi, and when you look at this hadith and add this number and take away this number and do this and do that, it means this. So, that Mufti Abu Laysa, he's also the same thing, Everything's metaphorical and then some things are metaphorical. So, these are the telltale signs. Language is used, and sometimes one word in Arabic can have many meanings. Then also, ikhtilaf, or a difference or a rare opinion of a particular scholar, hundreds of years after the Prophet ﷺ is used and presented as the opposing opinion, therefore it's a legitimate opinion. No, it's not. No, it's not. And how can an opinion be legitimate which wasn't held by the Sahaba? How can that be a legitimate difference of opinion that wasn't held by the Sahaba? So if all the Sahaba are unified upon one way, upon one understanding, someone 500 years later, 350 years later says, it may also mean this, that's not a legitimate difference of opinion. So they hide behind the rarity or the erroneous or the lone opinions of certain scholars. And thirdly, they hide behind narrations and verses of the Quran which are not from those which are muhkam, meaning those narrations from which you derive rulings, which are clear cut, from which you derive rulings. Rather, they go behind narrations or verses which are not muhkam. I don't like to use the word unclear, but narrations from which you don't derive rulings, which may have more than one connotation, one meaning, one translation, one tafsir. And this is only a person who will do that who wants fawda and confusion and confuse the people. And the reality is he confuses himself first. Had he not been confused himself, he wouldn't have confused others. So these are the kind of things that the people go behind. And it's quite fascinating, isn't it? You know, when the Prophet ﷺ is saying one thing and then there's a scholar or someone who claims to be a scholar, he's saying, let me tell you what this means. It means, and then there's something that you can relate to. Petrol is something that we all put into our cars. So we can relate to that. The $1 note or the $5 note or whatever it is, we can relate to that. You know, the Dajjal is not reality, but the dollar note is right in front of us. We can feel it, touch it, see it. So it's ironic, isn't it, that Dajjal is metaphorical, but at the same time he is like the dollar note, which is something which is physical, that you can touch and is tangible. So really, even from that way, it's aqlan not possible what they're saying, because Dajjal still is a metaphorical. Even if it's a dollar note, it's something which you can touch and feel. So the point is, Ahlul Bid'ah and Ahlul Fasad, every evidence that they bring, Shaykh Islam said, is an actual evidence against themselves first. They bring no evidence except that it's a hujjah against against them. And Allah knows best. So these are things that we have to be aware of. And safety is with those who stick to the understanding of the deen upon the way of the Sahaba and the Salaf that followed it their way. And Allah knows best now.